Warm welcome, greetings to everyone both at home and abroad. In this video, we celebrate the victory of Zoran Mamdani, the newly elected mayor of the city of New York, the city that never sleeps. Zoran is the son of Mamdani of Ugandan origin and Meera S. Nair, an Indian lady. Actually a product of Miranda House, a college very near St. Stephen's College where I studied and worked lifelong. And I remember Meera S. Nair as a young girl, college girl, occasionally coming to St. Stephen's College to participate in the activities of the Shakespeare Society of St. Stephen's College. And I'm sure that Shashi Tharoor would very affectionately and respectfully remember her, as she often acted the lead role in Shakespeare annual productions in St. Stephen's College. And those were the days before the St. Stephen's became co-educational. By 1996, the college began to admit ladies, and after that, the practice of inviting girls from Miranda House to act in our Shakespeare plays ended. So Meera Nair belongs to the period before 1976. She was an incredibly talented young girl, someone who stood out, and I'm not surprised that she went on to excel herself in the realm of arts. She became a world-renowned film producer, and she married an Ugandan by the name Mamdani. Now, at this time, I'll just let you listen a brief while to Zoran Mamdani's victory speech, and after that, I have a few thoughts to share. Let's listen to Zoran.
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty.
Well, I suppose that gives you a flavor of Zoran's delivery, his thought process, his outlook, and above all, the electrifying appeal and strength of his personality. As I witnessed this very historic event, by the way, he's the first person of African origin, Indo-African origin, to become the mayor of New York. New York, as a state, is perhaps the richest in America. Its total income exceeds the income of several nations in the world. It's home to about 8.5 million people. And I remember visiting that country many times several years ago. Um, it's not an easy responsibility that is descended on Zoran, and I wish him all the very best. And I'm pretty confident that he'll give an excellent account of himself and that he will turn this incredible present achievement into a stepping ladder for greater things in the future. And I have no doubt at all that he deserves something far more important and significant. Now, at this time, maybe it is surprising to many, maybe it's ironic, but at this time, my memory goes back, and I cannot help it. My memory goes back some 24 years to the 7th of September 2001, when 19 young Al Qaeda recruits hijacked commercial airplanes and flew them straight into the Twin Towers, which were the pride of New York, and also to the Pentagon, which is the seat of American military might. Now, that daring act, perhaps the greatest terrorist act America ever witnessed, comparable only to the Pearl Harbor episode which dragged America into the Second World War. That episode needs to be considered in this context, and I need to tell you why. Here we have two completely different strategies. One is the path of violence, and the other is the soft power of culture, of character, of personal nobility, greatness, merit, potential. The question that we need to ask ourselves in this context, and that question is particularly important for us here in India, which of the two approaches is really paying in the long run? The young Al Qaeda recruits, who are very promising young men younger than Zoran Mamdani, perhaps some of them very promising, if not as promising as Zoran is. They were very convinced at the time of taking the fatal decision to undertake this terrorist expedition that they were striking a great blow and that they were making a significant contribution to world history. But even though they succeeded in creating a sense of drama, a fleeting sense of having achieved something very powerful, their achievement proved short-lived. In fact, their achievement proved horribly counterproductive, and the entire Middle East is still paying for it. The Islamic community throughout the world is still paying for it. In contrast, we have a young man belonging to an inter-religious family, mother a Hindu, father a Muslim, an Indian and a Ugandan, giving birth to a promising genius like Zoran, making an impact on the greatest city in the world, New York. And I have absolutely no doubt at all that what Zoran has achieved far outshines what thousands of young men and women like the terrorists who flew the planes to the Twin Towers in New York could ever have achieved. So this path is more paying than the other. The path of growth, the path of merit, the path of achievement, the path of human nobility, the path of faith and hope, that if you can develop yourself, you can overcome all odds and prevail. And the unwavering faith that human greatness will prevail end of the day. That's far more powerful than anything that any weapon can ever enable you to achieve. This is something that we as Indians need to understand very clearly, because This is a very foundation that we are today at serious risk of being a risk of losing. Think of the foundation that Gandhiji provided. It was the foundation of human greatness. It is a foundation of the power of the spirit. It is a foundation of faith in ahimsa, faith in the fundamental nobility of the human species, faith in the human capacity to transcend all man-made labels and to celebrate the oneness of humanity for the sake of all. A vision that Swami Vivekananda celebrated. That has been completely or near completely superseded today by its exact opposite, something that is similar, if not identical, to what happened on the 7th of September 2001. Now, let's look at some aspects of this. It is not an accident that Zoran Mamdani is the product of two very significant cultures coming together, the Hindu culture and the Islamic culture. Meera S. Nair, a Hindu lady, and Mahmood Mamdani, a Muslim, talented Muslim gentleman. Now, in contrast, you think of the Parsi community in India, which is dying out because it inflexibly, dogmatically believed in inbreeding, in preserving the ethnic homogeneity of a people. The fact that this is anti-life, anti-nature is clearly proved by the fact that the Parsis are almost becoming an extinct community in India. The total number of Parsis in India is below 60,000. Of course, they have achieved much, and many of them are luminaries, especially in the domain of industry and commerce. But not only that, also great legal luminaries, philanthropists, etc. So, in this event, there is an implied invitation to all of us to consider the irrationality, the suicidal irrationality of embracing homogeneity as a great virtue or strength. No, it is a weakness. It is a way of weakening the very stock of our lives. Homogeneity in intellectual experience will only precipitate intellectual mediocrity. Homogeneity in genetics will only ensure the extinction of the particular group of people. Homogeneity in experience will ensure only the famine of experience, which prevents individuals from unfolding their personality and attaining their full potential. The principle of homogeneity militates against the law of life and nature. In India, we are today under compulsion to exalt the principle of ideological, cultural, religious homogeneity as a great national pride. The time has come for us to realize, my dear countrymen and women, that this is suicidal. And I say this as someone who cares for the greatness of life. Nowhere in history, in no culture, in no period of time, can you find a single illustration to prove that this dogmatic belief in homogeneity is life-friendly, is likely to prove beneficial or profitable to anyone? Rather, all evidence is overwhelmingly to the contrary, that it is ruinous of life. It militates against the fundamental logic of life. The second important nuance in this Mamdani episode, Mamdani becoming the mayor of the foremost city in the world, Zoran Mamdani, is the idea of development. What is development? In India, we have embraced this rather shallow, meaningless idea of development as the development of material resources alone. History again witnesses the fact that material expansion of life or the expansion of the material base of life without a corresponding expansion of the human content of life, the human stature, for example, material development can be counterproductive. And there's a reason why, even as materialistic culture spreads, the human stature dwindles, and even as the human stature dwindles, life becomes more and more unbearable. And therefore, as several social scientists, especially Emil Durkheim, pointed out, materialistic progress without the development of the human person infects humanity with depression and melancholy and aggravates the tendency toward suicide. His classic work on suicide is the authority to be cited in this context. Now, in India, more than any other country, over a long period of time, people dreamed of the greatness of being human. I don't think there is any other culture comparable to our own. And yet today we find people embracing what is cheap, shallow, and subhuman with great pride has become the norm. We have come to despise human greatness and what it takes to attain that greatness. We are so engrossed in the immediate that we have become blind to the future. We are so stuck on the surface of things that we have become blind to the depth of things. We are actually ruining our great heritage, and we are corrupting our prospects and possibilities in the present. I was listening to the speech by Zoran Mamdani very carefully from start to finish. My heart rose in respect for the fine sentiments that he expressed and the very cultured, civilized, noble way in which he articulated himself. And I could not help comparing Zoran Mamdani's speech with the speeches that are here in this country, particularly in recent times in connection with the election campaign in Gujarat. The less said about it, the better. My heart grieves over the degradation that has come upon us. I know this doesn't please anybody's ears, but it is my solemn duty as a patriotic Indian to alert everyone to the reality that we are corrupting, degrading, and cheapening ourselves. We are foregrounding the mean and the low, the lumpen and the boorish, and we are sidelining the noble and the noteworthy. Now, this cultural degradation is something that we have to take very seriously. I'm afraid in this context, every aspect, every ingredient in our national life today makes its own contribution, the media in particular. No other aspect of our national life is as guilty as the media is in corrupting the soul of India. But I can't blame the media alone. I have to also blame the leaders of various religions. After all, the true function of a religion is to undergird the ethical viability of a society, to safeguard the greatness of being human, and to empower individuals to reject the low and the impure, the mean and the unjust, in favor of what is noble and what is great. But unfortunately, what happens on the ground is exactly the opposite. And that is something that we have to really take note of. Politics, likewise. In fact, today there is a competition between religion and politics in degrading, corrupting, and cheapening the stock of human life. In the midst of all this, look at a person like Zoran Mamdani. I brought him back on the stage, on the screen, on purpose. A 34-year-old young man. He was born in 1991. A 34-year-old young man. by the power of his personality, capturing the foremost city in the world. Now, if you like, this is colonization in the reverse. For a long time, people from the West came and colonized Afro-Asian countries and societies. Now the reverse flow must begin. It's a logic of history. But when the reverse flow of colonization begins, it cannot assume the shape that Al-Qaeda prescribes. And the people and organizations similar to Al-Qaeda, irrespective of which religion they profess or practice, prescribe or prefer. It has to be the path chosen by Zoran Mamdani, the path of development, personal development, the path of merit, the path of a more enlightened universal outlook, the path of the inner freedom to relate to all people without hassles and fixations, the path that renounces prejudices and biases and embraces the worth of being human, the path that celebrates hope and faith in human destiny, the path that prefers light rather than darkness, peace rather than violence, love rather than hate, truth rather than falsehood. My soul thirsts for the greatness of the Indian genius to find its proper and full expression. Gandhiji was a light that turned us in that direction, but we have come a long way away from Gandhi. And today we are in a state of dilemma whether to embrace Gandhi or his murderer, Godse, as a national hero. In such a context, please think of the significance of this event. As Zoran Mamdani conquers the heart of the United States, not with bombs, not with terrorist tactics, but with the soft power of being meritoriously human. And that is something that fills my heart with excitement. It is this path that I would commend all my fellow human beings, particularly to my young friends throughout the country. You have been thoroughly misled by people who think that they can turn human degradation into their immediate profit. They're not patriots, they're actually enemies of humanity, whoever they are, and whichever party, whichever ideological bloc you find them. They are a pestilence, they are a curse not just on India but on humanity. The path to human greatness must be preferred over the paths to human degradation. And that was a path that Mahatma Gandhi illumined. And that was why when Gandhi was assassinated, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, becoming very emotional, said, the light that illumined this country is now no more, and there is darkness everywhere. Yet I was wrong. The light that illumined this country was no ordinary light. And he then goes on to express the faith that that light will continue to illumine the life of India for the years to come. But unfortunately, today we have reached the crossroads in this regard. The reason why I thought it is appropriate for me to share these thoughts with you. Every young Indian must accept, in my opinion, Zoran Mamdani as their role model. Unfortunately, in this country, we don't have such role models. Or even if there are such role models, possible potential role models, they are humiliated, stigmatized, caricatured, vilified, ruined, trampled underfoot. And that process of human atrocity is turned into some kind of nationalistic cult. A greater indication of our degradation as a people cannot be imagined. I assure you there is no profit in all this. It is suicidal. We are insulting ourselves. We should have the courage to recognize merit where there is merit. Recognize human greatness where there is greatness. Recognize light where there is light. And we also should have the gumption to say that darkness is darkness. Falsehood is falsehood. Injustice is injustice. Inhumanity is inhumanity. And we should have the consistency of character to say that we'll have none of it. After all, my dear friends, politicians can play their games and rake in a profit. You and I have to live our life. And that life must be lived on the foundation of love, peace, justice, compassion. Its pride must be the development of the human being to the highest possible potential, something that Zoran Mamdani today symbolizes. It's not an easy thing to conquer. The hearts and minds of so many people in New York. It's just about the most difficult thing to do. I would say it's more difficult than becoming the Prime Minister of this country. If you don't mind, I would say this, that what this young man, 34-year-old Zoran Mamdani has achieved is far greater than the achievement of becoming the Prime Minister of India. So, I wish him all the very best. I wish the very best for the people of America, because the good news is that in all the elections that happened yesterday, in various states, including New Jersey and Virginia and California, etc., the Democratic Party won, which means that the people of America have woken to the unacceptable aspects of what Donald Trump stands for. And I give full credit to the people of America. So there is a contrast now between Donald Trump, the white man par excellence, the racist supremo, and Zoran Mamdani, the young man who captures the imagination of the people of New York, especially the youth. And this contrast, my dear friends, is extremely significant. And this contrast will define the world we are going to enter into. Not atom bombs, not hydrogen bombs, not military muscles and might, but this contrast is going to define the history of the future. That is why I say that we must recognize the tremendous significance of this victory. So I hail Zoran Mamdani as a finger pointed to the future of America. And that's the supreme irony. For America to attain a new life, something from beyond its borders has to come in, make America its home, and liberate and celebrate a new hope. And that new hope is called Zoran Mamdani. Jai Hind.